Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Artcasters number 319, I believe. I don't have the thumbnail in front of me, but I believe we're 319. And this is going to be an awesome show today. Something I'm very interested in learning more about. The return of Gold Key Comics. If you guys aren't familiar, Gold Key Comics, I think they started back in the early 60s. And they ran until the 80s, I think. And they've been off the scene for a while, but they're coming back. So we've got the Gold Key team with us, and they're basically just starting this thing up. So we're going to get on the ground level and see what we can pry out of them as far as what their plans are. But before we get to that, we'll do what we always do and work our way around the room. I'll start off. I'm Scott Circlin with Circworks Art Lab. You're on my YouTube channel, so that's where you can find me. Also on this channel, you can find Making Comics 101, which is my series on making comics. It'll take you every step of the process of making a comic, from coming up with your idea to printing, publishing, and every step in between. Also, if you go to circworks.com on my website, circworks.com right here, I have my own comic book series, Young and the Dead. It's a kids versus zombie adventure story. It's kind of like Goonies meets Night of the Living Dead. It's adventure, fun, and like kind of 80s nostalgia throwback stuff. So that's what I got going on. I am going to move over kind of counterclockwise. I'm going to go clockwise. So we're going to go to Josh. Josh, what's going on with you?
Not much. I'm currently doing a lot of live streams on my YouTube channel while working on a 280-page graphic novel that I have to do, 230-page graphic novel that I have to do in 356 days. So if you guys are interested in seeing somebody not sleep for a long time, make sure you're subscribed to that and following that. And also support my stuff by buying my first graphic novel that's out now that talks about my journey dealing with depression, growing up as a comic book geek, and cosplaying every day at school as Indiana Jones before cosplay existed. And it's definitely an not all ages comic. This is an adult comic that deals with heavy themes of like things like suicide and panic disorder and stuff like that. But I like to think that it's a pretty strong book. So go buy that on Amazon. And also, I have Jacob's Apartment, which is my graphic novel that's done in the vein of like Ghost World, a doomed romance story. So if you're into like Ghost World or Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and stories where like dreams and reality kind of interweave in a slice of life doomed romance, go pre-order this. It's coming out from Graphic Mundi, which is an exciting publisher. And yeah, make sure that you ask your local bookshop, big box chain stores. This should be available at every store. Go ask them to carry it, and that'll do it for me. Sorry, I tried to keep it short.
All right, Corey, what about you?
Hi, Corey. You can find me at coreykerr.com. I'm finishing up an animated short, so don't have anything recent to show unless you want to see pieces of the animated short scattered across social media. But should be shooting the live action versions of that a week from tomorrow. So
do you have an ETA on that? On the full project?
We're at this point waiting on weather. So we've been snowed out several times, which is the end of April. So
we're all in Arizona over here, the Gold Key team and myself. Yeah. So we don't know what that's all about.
Yeah,
unless we go with the Flagstaff or something.
I had a bonfire last night that was put out by snowfall. So I was like, great, I love living here. Anyway, yeah, it'll be done as soon as I can edit it and get the sound together. All the animation is done, but I'm hoping in the next couple weeks. But we'll see. We're shooting next week. So
awesome.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's a couple people that are saying that they're big fans of Gold Key in the chats already before we.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be excited about that. Yeah. I certainly am. So yeah, let's get to it. Let's meet the team of the new Gold Key Comics. Who wants to start off and kind of tell us what your kind of roles in the company and everything? And then I'm sure all three of us have tons of questions for you.
I'll do like brief introductions.
Okay, cool.
Over here is Adam Brooks.
Hey, Adam.
He's our chief communications officer. He's big time. He works a lot with Monster Comics on the East Valley, public speaker. just like all of us, comic aficionado. He's an integral part of the team. We have Mike Dynes in the red shirt, chief legal officer,
Right.
certainly a major part of us all being so enthusiastic about comics for sure. He's been into comics for longer than all of us combined. Lane, I thought you were chief legal officer. He's a lawyer. Don't hold it against him.
They're still working this stuff out. It's a pretty new company.
Actually,
when I'm having fun. That's the problem.
great. He's a fun guy too. Lance Linderman, a CEO. He's the one that got this whole deal together. It's a real interesting story on how he did that and kind of invited us all in. I'm Arnold, Chief Creative Officer. However, we're all kind of like have our input in the whole creative marketing, everything to do with this project. So, and we're all really flattered and happy to be here on the podcast for sure.
We're very top heavy in our corporate structure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to say, so Arnold and I go way back. He's good friends with my cousins and everything, and had kids on the same sports teams and all that kind of stuff. And he's been an art director at pretty much every single company that I could think of in Arizona as far as art directing and everything. So and so I saw this post that him and the other three guys there had purchased Gold Key Comics, and I'm like, what? So, and I've been waiting to get you guys on the show. So yeah, I'm really excited. So I guess Arnold had mentioned that it's an interesting story how this all came about. So I don't know if you want to just start off with that, because that would be my first question.
Yeah, you want to scoot in?
No, it's good. Yeah, so basically, I had I was born in the 80s, and my grail that I always wanted was TMNT #1 first. And I finally got one, and I held on to it, had it up on my wall for about 6 months or so.
Isn't it signed by this person?
Yeah, signed by
that's right.
on the inside cover. It's like an 8.0 or something like that. And I decided, I was like, all right, I'm gonna sell this finally. We were gonna use it as a down payment for a house that we're trying to buy. And I posted it on a Facebook group. And oddly enough, I got hit up by this guy, and he's like, hey, don't tell anybody, but I've got kind of a weird proposition for you. And I was like, okay, well, what do you got? And essentially,
Stranger on the internet with a weird proposition.
I'm all ears, man. And he's like, well, I don't have the money for it, but my name's Rob, and you can kind of look me up if you want, which is how he kind of introduced himself. And he was like, I own Gold Key Comics. And I was like, oh, cool. And he's like, well, but you can have it. I'll give it to you for your books. So I was like, what? So it's just kind of a wild idea that like this guy would be willing to trade a comic book for a publishing company.
So Lance, did you have any previous to this? Did you have any aspirations of starting a comic book company?
No, wasn't planning on starting a comic book company, but I was very intrigued at the idea of getting involved in something other than just on the selling end, but actually on the creating end. And I felt that with a brand like Gold Key, it could be a good step in the door with meetings or people like yourself that would want to like interview us, or and that's played out pretty awesome. From the first podcast where CBR picked it up, that's probably how you saw it. And it's been a wild ride ever since. But essentially, Adam and I, we went to Florida. I had to ask, he wanted a little bit more than just the book. He wanted a little bit of cash. So that's where I bugged Arnold and everybody else for a little bit of their money. And then we went with the book, cash in hand, went out to Austin. Yeah. And met with this guy, Rob, who's like a hacker for the government or something like that.
Wikipedia describes him as a hacker.
And
but he did obtain Gold Key Comics legally, right?
Yes. So it's also the crazy story is that Penguin House owned it, and they had forgot they lapsed on the copyright for the trademark, and lapsed on the trademark, and he like was just smart enough to notice that. He applied for it and got it, and then kind of battled over it and won. And so it's just kind of a weird thing how it even became available in the first place. But now somehow we've got it, and we have no idea what we're doing, but we're figuring it out.
Like a monkey with a football.
Well, kind of Gold Key Comics has this weird history as far as I think it was started by started by like Western Publishing, and then it was Dell, and then it was Gold Key, and then they did some stuff with Whitman. It's like you see these titles where they just kind of change. Like one month it would be like Dell Comics, and then the next week or next month it'd be Gold Key. But I think Gold Key was just pretty much I don't know if it's like the longest running iteration, but I think I think Western Publishing is still around, but they must have sold it. So it's gone through all these different hands before I kind of wind up in your hands. Yeah. But I don't know. It's the thing that always intrigued me about Gold Key, without a doubt, was just the aesthetics. And
yeah,
I think even Dell was kind of like that beforehand. But just those painted covers, and it's just a very unique look, and that a lot of it did have that kind of 60s aesthetic. It's very, I don't know, how would you describe that, Josh? It's not like a cartoon
like,
modern, but it's like
it felt more
not
like
a Sal Bass, but I don't know.
It felt more like the pulps, like I mean, like these just amazing kind of painted shape based, like but really like sci-fi cover, but not fantasy, like I don't know, just in that pulp territory, but classy, there's something
and it
really
wasn't all pulp stuff too. They had the thing about Dell, and this is the question I definitely get into with you guys, because not Dell, sorry, Gold Key, because a lot of it was just licensed stuff, and a lot of those licenses have moved on to other companies. So
like Star Trek, and
I don't know, did you guys purchase anything besides the name itself? Were there any properties attached to it, or because most of it was all licensed stuff that it was like that, like as far as the humor stuff, it was like Disney and Warner Brothers and Hanna-Barbera, and then I'm sorry, and then I think Valiant for a while owned a lot of those titles, like Turok and all that kind of stuff. But so what else came along with the name?
So we actually purchased some original art and some of the rights for some independent publishing that Gold Key had been doing.
Awesome.
But for the most part, most of it was licensed stuff that were owned by other people, owned by other groups. That's where we're at now, is kind of piecing back those licenses to try to rebuild from a new ground. Bringing back some of the stuff that we loved as kids. You're talking about bringing back those 60s covers.
Yeah. Do you guys have the rights to reprint on any of the old stuff, or who has that?
The rights are kind of spread out. All the licensed stuff obviously is owned by the rights owners. So we don't have any rights to any of the old stuff. So we're basically creating all new content.
Okay.
That's awesome.
The one thing that we have secured, and Adam can tell you, the one thread that we've been able to piece together.
What I say?
Yeah, give it a go.
You guys are getting this first. So.
All right, we got exclusive here on the Artcasters.
Exclusive.
Pending the final closing signature, Boris Karloff.
Oh yeah. Was it Tales of Mystery? Boris Karloff, Tales of Mystery? Was that the?
Was.
Yeah, and so we don't have the title, right? So we have Boris. At this point, we're leaning towards Boris Karloff's Gold Key Mystery.
Oh man,
it's another funny story, because Adam's been flirting with Boris's daughter, Sarah, who's in her 80s, but she's finally agreed.
Boris died in 1969 or 71. I can't remember.
She's like 82 years old,
and part of the agreement was that Adam has to take her out to dinner. So that paperwork.
I worded that.
Way to go, Adam.
Okay, so Mike's got to take her out to dinner. But you're married, man.
Dude, I have so many questions for that woman.
Yeah.
I want to ask her.
So it's really,
I love Boris.
I literally just cold emailed her, and she said, "Call me right away, please. I want to talk." So we're both pretty eager on both sides to get something back in that genre, which is pretty exciting.
That's
awesome.
Boris
So
came out last year, and it was amazing. I mean, yeah, I don't know if you guys seen that it's on Shudder. The Boris,
What was that now?
There's a Boris Karloff documentary.
Oh no, I haven't seen it. I don't have Shudder, so that's probably why. But
it's worth getting the free subscription for a week to watch that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean so that is super exciting. So with that sort of once.
What license do you guys want us to go after next?
Oh geez. Okay, I'm trying to think. Well, a lot of them are taken, but I'm trying to think.
I'm going to be the annoying indie guy and say, like, just focus on the original properties. There's more need for that.
They had one called The Owl, I think, that was, I don't know who owns that or if it was kind of like a Batman ripoff, but they didn't have a lot. Gold Key didn't have a lot of original properties other than they had like Solar and I mean, like a lot of the Valiant stuff, which I don't even know if they own anymore. But yeah, I mean, I'm all for like. I mean, well, there was the Ripley's, Believe It or Not. I don't know if anyone has that. There was a lot of old 60s like shows. I mean, stuff like that. It may not be as relevant, but the comics are. I mean, people might not know it as far as a brand, but that might mean you can get it cheaper. But some of those stories are still great. But I'm trying to think what. I mean, Twilight Zone would be awesome. I don't know if anyone who has the rights for Twilight Zone. That would be a big get. Obviously Star Trek, which I don't know. Yeah.
Jordan Peele might be good.
I think the Jungle Twins is still available.
Okay.
Wacky Witch. Don't forget about Tiger Girl is a great one. We need to bring back.
Well, Wacky Racers, because I thought DC was doing all the Hanna-Barbera. Was Wacky Racers Hanna-Barbera or was it just Hanna-Barbera-esque?
Wacky Witch was one.
Oh, Wacky Witch. Okay.
Yeah. Gold Key did a few of their own titles. The Valiant ones are people are most familiar with. They had a few that were original. The Mars Patrol War, a handful of those. They also took some from the old serials. The title called The Close Shaves of Pauline Peril, and it was a secretary who went out on adventures. And but that was so since Gold Key stole that basically from the radio serials. We can also use that because the radio serials are public domain.
Yeah, well, there's also the whole Space Family Robinson versus Lost in Space thing, because I know like Netflix has a Lost in Space, which I've seen a few episodes. It's kind of cool, but I don't know what direction you guys are going. But I really like to see that kind of that classic aesthetic brought into it. And I don't know. I mean, I assume. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Earlier, the painted covers, and we love the painted covers, and that's one thing that we're going to keep going. We've already talked to some artists that specialize in painting. But the thing about painted covers is they add that touch of realism to a surreal incident, right? You have a surreal moment. You have Mega's robot fighter fighting these robots, but it's painted in like it's sort of a Raphael-esque lighting, and I don't know. To me, it's like that. The painted covers are something that we don't see very often today.
Yeah.
In that,
not in that style, and it is very. I mean, that's the first thing I think of with Gold Key. Also, I mean, and then they would do a lot of stuff with photographs and just really interesting like graphic design that was kind of its time of the '60s, but I still think it would work today as just this really unique aesthetic. The logo design, it was very, those just solid color logos, not that, they weren't like
like a
like a lot of Marvel stuff had kind of the 3D effect that came out. These were just solid. And a lot of that stuff, I know Image is really, a lot of the Image titles now, they're going back to that just solid one color logo that Gold Key did a lot of. And just the design aesthetics to those. And I'm sure, I know with Arnold on your team, you can definitely bring that stuff back. But go ahead.
I don't know if you've opened up any of your Gold Keys to read through the stories, but that's something that we really, as much as we love the painted covers, we also want to make sure we're telling really quality stories.
Right.
Yeah.
That are really great. I mean, we really want to bring back this idea of storytelling, because I don't know that there's a lot of, I want to see a lot more people doing better stories. And so we want to be that. There's beautiful art, and I'm an art connoisseur, But at the end of the day, I want it to capture my attention, capture my imagination, and that's really something that we've all agreed that we really want to focus on is some quality stories.
Well, then our motto is story never dies.
Yeah. So speaking of like interiors and and beyond, so beyond the story, as far as because obviously Gold Key, they haven't been around since the 80s when everything was like newsprint and everything, and obviously you probably aren't going to go that route, but man, I would love to see more of like a flat stock or something rather than that super. I'm just not a fan of that super glossy stuff, so I don't know.
So we are
at least on the interiors.
Yeah.
Hoping to use the old pulp and do it to the era size.
Oh,
awesome.
that'd be so cool.
Picture decoupage kind of covers the same way they used to.
Yeah, thanks to Adam with his print shop tours and
yeah. There's more.
Adam's been contacting print shops from the late 1980s that are still around, trying to find somebody who has a press to do newsprint.
Listen, I'll go on a date.
Yeah, so I don't know. Are you guys familiar with Alterna Comics?
Yes, that's actually we recently reached out to them.
We did.
Okay, yeah, because they do all their stuff in newsprint, and it's all. That it's still out there. They're just not used to making comics, from what I understand. Because still every circular you get, all that stuff is newsprint. But like Alterna, they print on newsprint, but they figured out a way to get that kind of that modern. More of a modern color aesthetic, but I think it looks great on newsprint. So that's super exciting for me too. I missed that. Sorry.
Somebody brought that up at the last couple of meetings we've had, the Alterna Comics.
Yeah, they're the only ones that I know that are doing newsprint. But there's also you can do like a more quality. Not necessarily newsprint, but have kind of that look to it. I've seen some stuff done like that too,
where it's almost printed on, and we like the look of like that's. I don't know. We want the newsprint.
That's awesome. That makes me even more excited. That's really cool. I didn't know how far you were going to go into that. I kind of heard from Arnold that you're planning to still do the painted covers and everything, and I'm like, okay. And then, but
$3.99.
I missed that. Sorry.
It's not going to be $9.
I still not going to be
cover
some.
Price a little higher than we're used to with doing, because it's actually a little more expensive to do newsprint than some of the glossy stuff. So
really, okay, that's interesting because I know Alterna they sell their books for like way cheaper than they sell theirs for like it used to be $1.50. I think now it's like a couple bucks, but compared to most comics, they're about $4 or $5. So I don't know.
They sell their books for. I won't get into the.
We don't. Yeah. So we're.
So yeah.
So weird question. Are you guys planning on doing mostly like kind of traditional comics like floppies, or are you guys thinking about like kind of a trade game as well, where it's like doing the like thicker graphic novels where your returns will be a little larger? I'm curious about that.
We want to do both. So the comic company that so far we most want to emulate would be like Skybound.
Oh,
we
lovely.
want to do things that are basically 6 issues that we can put into a trade, and not just 6 issues, but every. We'd like to have.
Yeah.
We want to have our goal in the first year is to have 4 ongoing titles that publish monthly, and then every 6 months we put out a trade, and just keep that going. Sort of
sweet.
Yeah. So what's kind of your schedule like? Are you guys planning to launch this year? And because I know you're talking about. I don't know how far along with titles other than what you're talking about in the early stages with the Boris Karloff stuff. And
so right now we have 2 titles I think that we're comfortable going forward with, plus the Boris anthology. So Boris will be an anthology that we introduce different titles through.
Cool.
Oh, sweet.
2 titles that I think we're comfortable going forward. We'd like to have 4 in the first year, so we're still looking for stories. If you know anybody out there that has something, what we would love to have would be sort of an expanded universe, something that somebody had put together that had, that we could, something that's almost shovel ready that we could start.
Yeah.
We have other ideas, but it's going to take a little while to develop that.
Do you guys have like particular genres that you're looking for in those stories? Like, is there a certain kind of like, I don't know, like if I'm browsing the Netflix of the comic shop or whatever, which category would you guys like be looking for the most in for comics?
I think we're like right now we're looking for horror, science fiction, anything, superheroes is great, but there's so much out there. So
nice.
Even romance or funny animal stuff, like if it was good.
Yeah. And that's typical of Gold Key too. They didn't have a lot of superheroes, but they did have a lot of humor titles and stuff too. So it was a good mix, you had the horror stuff, you had the suspense stuff, you had a lot of, television, whatever was big on television, adaptions of those.
One of my favorite genres is acid western. Just weird westerns, psychedelic western. That would be. I would love to do a psychedelic western story.
That would be cool.
Sounds amazing.
Anything kind of
in the
off
war,
the beaten path.
I just instantly, we'll have to talk to you guys off stream, but I instantly think you should check out Gary Hodges and Dinosaurs versus Marsbots, because I feel like Gold Key and that is like,
yeah,
perfect,
his stuff is so good. I don't know if he'd be.
I don't know if he'd be interested.
And I don't know if he'd be interested in taking it to color, but he has done like pulp. We got a friend who has this amazing title. It sounds bizarre and ridiculous, but it's like it's very earnest and it's really great. Maybe we can forward you a copy and you guys can look at that. I don't know if he's interested in going with the publisher, or if he's just a total self-published guy, but.
On color either. We're flexible. But we plan on the stuff we do being color, but I don't think we insist on that. So.
I insist on.
Oh, Arnold wanted color. Arnold would some magic burgers in the
Yeah, it does kind of. I don't know how many black and white titles the traditional Gold Key had, if any. So
I don't think we had any, but
yeah.
But we're not bound by the.
Yeah,
we love comics, and really, like Lance said, Gold Key's our foot in the door. It's like. If we came up with a company that didn't have Gold Key but was the exact same, it would be hard to get people to listen to what we're doing. But because it's Gold Key, we're able to do some things.
That's true.
We really
so
make good stuff.
Yeah. So here's a question: if you are looking for stuff like that, we kind of established it. Traditionally, Gold Key was just a lot of licensed stuff. Are you looking for creator-owned projects then too to partner up with? Or are you looking for full ownership of that stuff, or what kind of?
I'll jump in. Well, just real quick, just like Skybound, it's sort. What we're looking for is like 50-50 partnership.
Okay. Yeah.
Like you bring us the story, you bring us the art, and we will work to get it into tangible form. So so going forward, we just want to continue that, have really share in that.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
out of curiosity, sorry to ask, and again, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. Do you guys have any idea how you're gonna approach distribution and stuff like that? Or is that something you don't want to talk about?
I would assume just the Gold Key name is going to get.
Yeah, I would imagine that's going to get
some.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had conversations on this. I think what our goal is, we're gonna find distribution that works the best.
Yeah.
And if that's Diamond, it's Diamond. If it's not Diamond, if it's something else, we'll try that. We're not ready. But I don't know how to reach a mass audience without using some of the big distributors.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay. Just curious. Is that intimidating? This is me being curious, and then, but is it because I'm just imagining you acquire a somewhat legendary comic company. Are you guys is it intimidating? Do you feel like there's a real? Because to me, it's they have kind of a legacy, and so do you feel kind of a desire to kind of meet that legacy or exceed it? It just seems like such a heavy thing to have hanging over you, but also exciting. I don't know.
Yeah, not until right now.
The only intimidating part of this is that if you place gold key into any one of our hands, I think it would go somewhere. But we're all for like equal voices into it, and
Yeah.
so navigating that is what we're learning right now. We've had many Friday morning meetings, and we've addressed like everything we've talked about, and so it's learning. It's kind of like learning how to work together and feeling each other's like tastes, and I think that it's like you have like four capable people of making this happen. But what I've learned from 20 years of being in creative is like it always we have that teamwork and you have that collaboration. If you can embrace it, the
Yeah.
product is always better at the end, and so that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, these guys have
That's
been
awesome.
Not at all.
these guys have been good because Arnold's right. We're all four kind of strong personalities, and I'm a lawyer, so I'm an asshole, and these guys are just like my pontificating on what the true form of comics is, and yeah, they've been great. But yeah, we've had those kind of conversations but I think at the end we all are on the same page. So we want to put out stuff that we believe in, and
Yeah.
we're not leveraged. We're not in this like we don't have to like turn a profit to impress some shareholders or anything like that. So we can do stuff we want to do.
That's
But
awesome.
Josh,
Yeah.
Josh, you're exactly right. We look in the mirror in the mornings and go, "Holy crap! What did we just do?"
I have a clarification on that 50-50. Is that 50-50 of profits? Is that 50-50 of gross or net? Or is that 50-50 ownership of the property in all of its iterations as it expands into other media?
I don't want to talk terms too much because it's all going to be individual.
Okay.
But what we want to have is a
Lawyer. I'll tell you, lawyer.
Something to that, Corey. If it's not mutually beneficial, it's not going to work out. It's got to be something we want to really. I think we all have the heart and desire to become more progressive in honoring the original creators and writers, and really like saying to them, "Hey, you've done something really beautiful. You've done something really good, and we want to promote that, and we want to like keep you in the limelight on that and a part of the decision making process." So, I think that's the hope. That's the hope, and some of that might shift after the book comes on when it's on our shoulders. Maybe it begins to change more, but again, it's all up for debate. It's got to be something that we all can feel good about, and we all feel good about. We haven't talked to a single artist and had a negative conversation as it pertains to. I think most creators out there would be to work with us. So
Yeah.
We'll talk about some creators we've talked to. Let's have a secret.
Go ahead. Well,
Yeah, go ahead if you want to. Yeah, I'm interested.
We'll say this.
Other than the one you sent.
Okay.
Mike was talking about we're not just trying to make a lot of money. We're trying to do thoughtful, and so these are kind of passionate. Yeah, we could go after them or whoever the biggest name is right now, but we actually really like this person, even if they're not big.
Yeah.
Even if they're not that big of a name, if it's something that we think is really good, like we're all kind of leaning more into that than we are trying to go after some big name that can sell, put up numbers for us, whatever. So again, in the end, we want to thoughtful everything from the print to the packaging to how it's received to the customer. We want them to say, "Man, this is elevated above a standard, thrown out by the thousands sort of a thing." Everything we want to look nice and have quality detail, quality art. Yeah. Even if the names aren't big, like we just want. So we believe if we put a product, then they're gonna want more of it. So.
Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about creating a win-win. So I think that answered your question, Corey.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think this is great. There are so few companies out there that have like a real soul and a real humanity, like everything feels like this just soulless, robotic, awful corporate garbage. And so hearing you guys talk about all of this is just so exciting because I like I like having real people who actually care about the medium involved in the medium rather than like, what can we squeeze out of this thing and who cares who we hurt or step on the way. It's refreshing. So yeah, that's exciting to hear.
I was going to say the cool thing is that we're all really successful in our own careers, and so it's not like we need this to succeed.
Right.
So we get to participate and we get to bring all of our and make it in our own industries. You know what I mean? We're all kind of at the peak of our own industries, so now we get to, brand a new one.
Don't get me wrong, we would like to make a little scratch.
Sure, of course.
My personal dream, and Joshua might appreciate this, is like I would love to have a variant of Daniel Clowes. I know that will never happen, but that's all I care about in the comic book world. So
yeah, that's my jam too. So I dig the hell out of that. Well, I mean, so you're an art director, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that makes sense. It's Daniel Clowes.
I'm in art, like in the advertising world, not in the comic world.
But I mean, Daniel Clowes, it's like great design, great art, great aesthetics. It makes sense. Like that's gonna overlap. That's cool. To me, it's also cool because, like you guys said, you have your own successes individually, and so like you're almost doing what a lot of cartoonists do, where a lot of cartoonists are like literally just doing these things out of love and passion. They probably wouldn't be doing comics if it weren't that. And so it's like it's neat that you guys are building this company with that same kind of intensity and passion, and like this can be like the project where you do the thing you want to do. I think that's pretty cool.
So do you guys? I don't, and maybe this is too premature, but I mean, how are you planning on kind of getting? I mean, you're here on this show, which we don't have a massive audience, but how are you kind of? I mean, and I have seen some articles and some things, and since you guys purchased the company and everything. But as far as like shows, like, are you going to have a presence at? I mean, even like Phoenix Fan Fest or anything like that, or? And moving forward, I mean, are you guys going to take this to crowdfunding, or I mean, what are you guys thinking as far as that goes?
We actually bought 25 booths at FanFest. It's
nice.
Are you serious? 25?
No.
I want.
Yeah.
Okay. It's by the guy who sells sodas. It's the guy who sells the soda tin, right? You can live in a mug that you can bring back for like a refill.
Oh, I've seen that.
Those things are amazing. Those guys were at LA Comic Con. They make their way everywhere.
It's the root beer is incredible.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Sorry.
No, yeah, we'll be at FanFest. We do crowdfunding. I think Kickstarter is a really unique way to sell some books for anybody on the scale you are in the comic book industry. We also want to just make friends with you guys. Like everybody we move along with, like really understand who we're talking to, what they're contributing to in the world, and even as you guys were introducing yourselves, I was going, oh man, like I'm kind of interested in reading Joshua's book, and hey, dude, why are you going with some other publisher, bro? Like, come on.
Oh, sorry.
We're doing and making good relations and treating people well and along the way, and we're hoping that it doesn't have to be a big success, but if we've got a good book that everybody likes to read, then we'll be happy. So.
I think we're gonna have to do. We're gonna. You can either tell your rich friends about us, or we're gonna have to do a Kickstarter, because that's kind of how we're gonna fund.
Well, yeah, and there's no shame in that. I mean,
Kickstarters are great for pre-sale.
Yeah,
well, and the thing is, you guys like have like even if you were to have the money to fund it, you'd be silly not to do Kickstarter with Gold Key. I mean, it's like it's a known thing that a lot of people are going to be really excited. I think even our chat, like, right? It's like people are excited about it because it's got a history in comics. So it's like people want to see that return. So you have that buy-in. I mean, why wouldn't you kickstart it? Like, I want to contribute already. Like, I don't even have to see a book, right? So, yeah.
Would you guys rather see us start with a title like Parloff, like resurrecting an old title, or would you rather see us start with something totally original? Just curious. Like,
I think the Karloff idea, if you're only going to start with one, I think it might make sense to maybe start off with a couple, like do like a gold key launch where maybe you even have like a 3 title like thing as a launch. But I definitely think a mix. I definitely think you should have something definitely with the Karloff, because that's something people are going to remember. And it's like, okay, these guys are legit, and they're being true to what Gold Key Comics is. And and because Gold Key is I mean, especially for that, I think Gold Key really at that point was one of the only companies doing that. Now it creates a problem for you guys, because now you've got like companies like IDW, and I mean, there's so many companies out there that are just licensing factories that are pumping out all these licenses, which is kind of what Gold Key did before all of that stuff, and Dell before them and everything. But so now you kind of have competition in that sense, because so many people are doing that. So there might even be a pivot, because obviously you can't get that stuff, some of the stuff back, like Turok and Magnus Robot Fighter and all that kind of stuff, because all that stuff's tied up. But maybe in addition to, it doesn't have to be the same licenses that Gold Key had before. But I think the Karloff one is a big thing. Maybe another one like that maybe they had, and maybe look at some other stuff. But I think your idea of going out looking for some original stuff too, because because Gold Key had their own original stuff as well. So, and also the humor stuff.
I'd love to see like an aesthetic of like the like, to me, like the Gold Key thing is more the aesthetic. So maybe pick like 3-4 of the key genres that they did, So
funny animals,
and then get that vibe. Like, it doesn't have to be the property, but it's like I don't want to see like a like what was the thing you mentioned, one that was like a secretary?
Yeah,
that to me, if you do that authentically and like lean into it and make it like, I mean, think like Mad Men, right? But I
would buy that.
I mean, I would be all about that. Like a really like very like aesthetically like fitting that era and stuff, with like awesome pulpy painted covers. But I agree with Scott. Like you do probably want like 1 or 2 of those properties just to get somebody hooked. Like, if like Karloff, that's going to get buy-in instantly, because everybody knows Boris Karloff.
Yeah, I would love to see something. And Gary, I don't know. We keep talking about our friend Gary, who's got this thing that might be perfect for you, but I don't know where he stands at that. Plus, he's got a full-time job as well. But anyway, his thing would fit in that, because it's not goes back to the 60s. Well, it goes back to like 70s and 80s, but it's very retro. I think something in that sort of, I would love to see some kind of sci-fi thing, but like 50s sci-fi. Like, this is what like a period piece. I mean, of course, I'm all about that, because my comic takes place in the 80s, and so I'm all about nostalgia and things like that. But I would love to see something like that where it is kind of that, like a throwback,
Yeah.
You'll appreciate Scott, because I'm a proud holder of Young and the Dead, like full series, Kickstarter, funder. But so we are definitely going to launch this Kickstarter with. I'm happy, like the Gold Key name, Boris Karloff, but we also have a writer, and he has 3 issues done of like a folk horror genre that we're really excited about as far as an original piece.
Nice.
So one thing around on our friends is make this of like anthology, or do we kick it off on its own? And I don't know if Lance wants to get into like some people we've met out in LA when we were at WonderCon, but like I think the horizon is kind of bright as far as whether we split those or keep those together. So we're just I think you can look forward to. I'm excited to see yours, Scott, for sure, because I grew up with your younger cousin, and we were always excited for whatever you were doing. And so, like, if I saw a Kickstarter from Scott coming, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely buying those books. Yeah, we're gonna do that Kickstarter. We're looking forward to it, and definitely like the original story is definitely in the works, and it's like I said, 3 issues deep already.
That's
Cool.
awesome.
Yeah, it's funny because I have this. I know I wouldn't have time to illustrate it myself, but I have this old concept called retrofits that it's kind of this throwback super. It is a superhero, but it's crazy. But I with my project that I'm working on right now, I could, but that might even fit now that I think about that. And actually, our friend Gary is in the chat, so I don't know. What do you think, Gary? You think you're
Yeah, Gary, you interested in Gold Key?
I think it's
promoting
quite perfect,
you, dude.
but yeah.
On our website, we have a submission page. See, we're looking at everything.
I'll deliver it to you guys by hand. I mean, whether it's you publish it or not, you got to see it because it's really, honestly, and I'm not just saying that because we're friends and everything. And he's local too. He's in Arizona, but his it's like probably one of the best indie comics I've read. It's just so awesome. It's so good.
How hard are you guys on your submission rules? Because I noticed the first one is you want roughly 200 pages completed before submission.
I didn't. Do you guys have a website? I didn't even know you guys had a website.
We do, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
that's an aspiration. So
Okay.
I think we have. I think if I recall, there are requirements and then there are sort of preferences. But don't let it discourage you. Send us what you got. We'd love to see whatever's out there.
Well, we do.
Oh, I got you. Should and must. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it though. That's exciting.
The shoulds is because we're really hoping for something that's shovel ready, like we can just get going. But if it's not, we're okay. I mean, we got time. We're not in a giant hurry. We're just we want to have something to put out, before too long. But some of the stuff takes a little while.
Yeah. So I have a question for Arnold. I think I know the answer, but I just want to make sure just to calm me down. But is he around? Oh yeah. So the logo is going to stay the same, right?
What's that?
Is the logo going to stay the same?
Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome.
Yes.
Great.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah.
We did create a horizontal logo. You'll see it. So but we kept the same elements.
Cool. Yeah, I'm super anxious. I'm definitely I'll swing by when you guys are at Phoenix Fan Fest. This is the first year when I don't have a booth myself. I kind of stopped doing it. Decided I lucked out and I stopped doing comic conventions like right before the pandemic, so I didn't re-up, and it was probably a good decision. But I will be there signing for my local comic book store, so I'll be there. So I'll definitely swing by and talk to you guys and see what's going on. And what do you think you'll have by that time? Because that's not too far away. What are you guys thinking you'll probably have at the Gold Key booth?
Yeah, so we're have a booth. We have merch, and we're hoping to have 4 covers that we can sell prints for.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. And hopefully, if at least one of them is local guys, so they'll be able to sign stuff. But yeah, so hopefully there are 4 covers of titles we want to do.
Go ahead. Sorry, Lance.
I was just going to say that I think our main goal is just to say hi to everybody. And
Yeah.
It's like say we're back. We'll get started. So,
No, I think it's appropriate to go ahead, Lance. Tell them about the aesthetic of the booth, what we're thinking, anyways.
Please tell me you got to have big giant versions of those posters with the Gold Key logo on it, because that's just, I think anyone that's old enough to remember Gold Key that's just going to stop them in their tracks.
Yeah, definitely want that.
we're hoping to create a kind of 1960s living room.
Yes.
Oh, that's oh man, you guys are speaking my language. I know. I right now, just you saying that, I know that this property is in the best hands right now.
Oh, we appreciate that. We appreciate
There's so many people that are like, okay, yeah, we bought this property, but we're gonna update it, we're gonna reboot it, we're gonna make it more modern and everything. And you saying that was like, oh, that's awesome.
I mean, there might be an iPad for somebody to like.
Well, of course,
yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Well, you could wrap it in like a future modern CRT tube.
Dial on it. So you'll have to make sure.
That would actually be kind of cool. Yeah.
I am really sold on this too, because like that booth, and then the fact that you guys are saying you're going to try to stick with the hand painted looking covers. I think that alone just kind of sells me on the idea.
I'll tell you,
those
just
are
the
the
cool graphic design, even if
So
it's with
good.
the ones with the photographs, but that cool, they kind of do a lot of stuff with the square. Just that 60s aesthetic is so awesome.
so good.
I'll tell you something a cheat that I used to do when I was doing booths that would work so well with what you're doing is you get double thick padding underneath your carpet or whatever you're putting down, and people will want to be in your booth because it's not concrete. And if you guys had like shag carpeting with nice padding underneath, that would be so sick. It would be like stepping into one of those like man cave sunken living room dens.
The only problem is you won't be able to get people out.
I'll keep spending, man.
No, that's great.
A crowd attracts a crowd.
Yeah.
No, I used to do that. I had grass in my booths. I had carpet. I would always do nice flooring. That was like my signature.
Lance's brother owns a vintage furniture store in downtown Peoria called Mod Desert.
Perfect.
So we're hoping to finagle the living room furniture.
It'll be curated nicely, and like an old console television. Like Scott and I are about the same age, so when Scott and I were kids, we were the remote control.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna have that be in there.
My grandma, she had one of the actual clickers. It clicked when you pressed it down. It was like one of the first remote controls, and that was like a huge deal. No one had that thing. That was like.
Oh, that's awesome. That's gonna be the coolest looking booth.
Yeah, I'm like, I mean, you guys are like meeting my every expectation so far. I'm just like super excited. So
yeah. Also, I mean, I think we're definitely a biased sample because I think we all love that aesthetic to begin with. Like, I am one of those people. I found out about Gold Key just doing research for like, pulpy looking stuff, and just found these comic covers and was like, this stuff is amazing. Like, they're just beautiful covers.
In my free time, I go to vintage bookstores and take pictures of all the pulp covers.
Yeah. So this is exciting. Yeah.
Like Frank Paul, Lee Brackett, like some of those pulp paintings.
Yeah, they're just amazing. I mean, and some of them are so bizarre.
Yeah, from like 1933, and it had a guy's trip to Peru where he tried ayahuasca.
Oh, nice.
In the 30s. This was before Aldous Huxley and his Southwest Arizona experience.
Comics are always ahead of the curve. Always ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're all big fans of LB Cole. I know that's pre-Gold Key, but we'd have to throw the name LB Cole out just because of our love.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's rad.
Comic artist, bar none, is Fletcher Hanks. Golden Age. Didn't do any covers. He died on a park bench in New York in the 70s, alcoholic.
Dude, those Fletcher Hanks
didn't
books, the reprint, wasn't there like a big reprint by Fantagraphics like about 5 years ago? That's one of the most bizarre, like amazing books you can pick up, like for superhero comims.
That guy's
because he didn't have anything really in his lifetime, did he? He was pretty much discovered after his death, right?
Yeah, and everything he didn't do any covers. It was all kind of, sort of like B story stuff, but it's just amazing.
Yeah, dude.
You could do it. I don't know. Contact the Fletcher Hanks estate and see if you can do a Fletcher Hanks Presents. Just do stuff in his style.
We're onto something now.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, because that's kind of what the Boris Karloff thing. It was just I assume it was just his name. He wasn't writing those stories, or was he?
No, he was just we called the horror host, the Rod Serling.
Yeah. So it was, but Rod Serling actually wrote a lot of stuff.
That's true.
Who owns that? Do you know who owns Twilight Zone as far as comics are concerned, or whose license is that?
Well, CBS did the recent. They're still putting them out.
Yeah.
So I have one question about the kind of process or workflow or whatever. So if you're an artist like hired by Gold Key right now or whatever, and you guys are developing something, like who's the direct editor that like is kind of dealing mostly with like the story, like the first contact on that, like of you guys? Is it like a collective body where you guys are all developing the story together, or is it more like you have kind of a, maybe I missed on the intros or something? Is there like kind of an EIC or something?
Yeah.
My wife is going to be editing all the books.
Does she know that?
I think. Well, right now it's really just us. If I'm just being
That's
totally
awesome.
We do plan on bringing in an editor to work on new final passes and to work with the writers. Every writer, I think that's actually going to be like a must.
Well,
like,
a practical editor, yeah, you have
yeah.
to, but as far as like filtering stories and keeping the vision and keeping the direction, right now it's a group effort.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so earlier we were talking about, we've gotten a lot of really great submissions so far. But again, we're really trying to kind of seek out people that we think would work really well with the different particular projects we're working on.
Yeah.
So one person we're talking to, and I think it's okay to say, nothing's in writing yet or finalized, but we've started a really good relationship with. And one person we really love his work. He does a lot of interior work. He worked on the Black Monday murders. If you guys are familiar with that, Tom Coker is the name. If you guys know him at all?
No, but I'm writing that down.
Yeah, check him out. He's a master class in the sense that he's worked alongside of and worked in the industry for a long time with everybody from Lee to Lightfoot to all sorts of names.
Nice.
Jonathan Hickman actually wrote the Black Monday murders for him. I was like, you have to be my guy. And his stuff's a little dark, for sure. And I don't know that we'll be able to go as dark as he's done in the past. But if you look at his interior work, it's very angular. It's very interesting. It captures all the emotion. He's somebody that we're very excited at working with. The other names, I don't know if I'm allowed to say yet. But again, like, we're open to working with big name artists, and Tom Coker is certainly pro.
Oh, yeah.
And if you look at his like list of stuff he's done, I mean, you'll see that. But is there anybody else you guys would want to bring up other than him right now?
I'm not sure who you're talking about.
Tom Coker.
No, I know that.
Yeah. So for now, we'll just say that.
Yeah.
So that brings up an interesting point as far as the kind of the age range you're looking for, because while Gold Key traditionally had stuff like the Boris Karloff, and they had some horror titles, but they were one of the few comic companies that when the Comics Code Authority was implemented, they didn't have to abide by it, and they got through that because they weren't really publishing anything that was considered, offensive to that Comic Code Authority. Even though they did have a few, they did have some horror titles. They weren't crazy. They weren't like EC or anything like that. So, is that kind of still the same, sort of age range you're going for?
I think we want to do both. I mean, we want to have stuff that's all ages, kind of in the vein of Bone.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Bone's a story you can read to your kids, and you still listen, right? It's like, oh, this is kind of cool. We want to have that kind of stuff, but we're not going to be just that. Yeah,
and I could see. I don't think it would. It wouldn't be upsetting to me as far as keeping with the Gold Key brand if you did, with a few of your titles, went a little more mature.
We're talking about like a Gold Key After Dark or something.
Because that code doesn't really exist anymore, for one thing. But
when we were talking to like Sarah Karloff, she was like, we're doing Boris books. Cannot be like utterly violent and just
essentially 13 was the.
She was like, we can imply violence, we can have a little bit. She was really worried about, and to which Adam was like, your dad played a zombie that ate humans. Never showed it, okay? And I'm fine
threw
with
a little
that.
girl into the lake.
So we're gonna, more implied with him for sure than we wouldn't be able to go as far. I'm comfortable personally with having some stories that are pretty graphic. Like that doesn't bother me personally. So we might do that, but we also want to honor and have things that really feel like it used to. Again, we're gonna have to bring it into the modern age a little bit, probably. But
Well, we talked about this early on. I think our criteria is we're not going to do anything that's gratuitous, that's unnecessary.
Right.
But as the story flows, sometimes the story demands something at least like impactful.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't have to be front and center, but you look at some of the old stuff, like having something. I don't know if you ever read Walking Dead when friggin' Michonne cuts off the governor's talking spiel. Like they don't show it, like they show it, but you know what happens, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we're going that far into,
Right.
we're not going that far into it, but we're not opposed. Like if the story flows, I don't know. We just have strict guidelines on that. We want to make sure the story works.
Yeah, that's smart. That's a good guide, actually. I feel like as long as you let the story guide it, like you're gonna make good stories, So that's great. Yeah.
So I was thinking of something, and I'm not sure that I'm not too familiar with all the comics that are out there right now. And this is kind of a huge name, but I don't know that it's ever been adapted into comics, but it seems like it should have been something that was a Gold Key comic, but I don't think it was. But like Alfred Hitchcock Presents, something like that.
Oh, yeah, that would be good. Yeah, I don't think I ever was. That would be amazing.
I don't think I've ever seen a comic of that. I don't know.
Yeah, I grew up on Hitchcock. That was like,
Yeah.
I have sent an official letter to Apple to want to, in the vein of what Gold Key used to do as far as licensing television shows. I would love to do a Severance comic book, and so I have gone through the proper channels. I don't know if they're going to be seen with Apple because a Severance comic book. I don't know if you guys are familiar with
I'm not familiar with Severance. I assume is that a fairly new like Apple TV show or?
Severance is it's
Adam
yeah.
West from Batman?
Well, I mean, John Turturro's in it.
Okay.
John, who else is in it? It's an amazing show. It's on Apple Plus. It's a dystopian for sure. It's a great show. If you check it out, I'd love to do a comic book on it.
Yeah, and that would fall in place with kind of the traditional Gold Key with this, because it was that the stuff they were doing was all modern stuff
Wait,
back then.
that's that kind of crazy like Adam Scott thing, right? Like Adam Scott's in it. That's amazing. That aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Whoever directs it.
Maybe we could do a Ted Lasso.
Yeah, Ted Lasso would be great.
You're right.
I still haven't seen. I guess I got to get Apple TV because everyone's telling me I got to watch Ted Lasso. So.
You got to watch Ted Lasso. That's good stuff.
I know. Everyone tells me that.
So you guys remind me of a podcast that my son watches that is Red Letter Media. You guys ever watch that?
I've seen Red Letter Media. Yeah. They're basically a rip on everything. They started the whole thing. Now it's become Red Letter Media was what the internet now is before the internet. I mean, early on. Now everyone's doing that kind of stuff, and at this point, I'm just kind of like, I just want some positivity instead of people just ripping stuff apart. But yeah, it is definitely, it's definitely funny. I get a good laugh out of Red Letter Media.
Well, I like that they exposed me to horrible good movies that I never would have.
Oh, I love that stuff. And that's not even a bad idea. Maybe, I mean, some of these B movie titles, because a lot of them have really great ideas. It's just the budget and the execution isn't that great. But with the comic, you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
But you could also do it knowingly, like Batman 66. Have you guys read that?
Oh, that's great.
Like, the dialogue is like I hear Adam West in my head as I read it. It's amazingly well written.
Yeah.
And it's not like mocking it, but it is in the same vein. That would be cool. Like you do some of those old like Piranha or some of those like B movies on late at night. That would be legit.
Well, you could, I mean, and you could even like, I think this has probably been done, but like an Elvira type thing, or you could even, a book, I forgot who published it. It may have been Dark Horse, but they did a Mystery Science Theater comic book.
Yeah.
Where I think they were just ripping on the same way they did movies. They were looking at old public domain comics, but interjecting themselves. And I just thought that was a brilliant idea.
Yeah, that would be cool. Or even like a Joe Bob Briggs, like
yeah,
like old horror stuff.
there's a lot of stuff like there. Probably they haven't even been approached with, that you never know. These are, we're giving you guys gold here. This is great stuff.
That's what, like, I would want my job to be finding like the most ridiculous, like some of those Argento films and stuff, and turning them into comics. I think that would be amazing.
Yeah.
What's the movie where the Nazis were in the ocean and they reanimated and they walked up onto shore?
And Grand Moff Tarkin was.
The visuals were great. They had one well-known actor.
It was not Christopher Lee, but the other one from the Hammer
from
films.
From Star Wars.
Peter Cushing.
Peter Cushing. What movie was that?
It was. I don't remember.
Wait, were they zombies?
Yeah.
Okay, was that Dead Snow? Nazi zombies?
Well, that's more recent. Are you talking? Is it more fairly
more
recent,
of a classic, or
80s Nazis walking through the ocean?
That's awesome. Weirdly enough, like, is it possible to get like Raymond Chandler licenses and do some like hard-boiled detective stuff too?
Oh, he's got there's some great Raymond Chandler stuff out there.
I mean, that'd be cool.
Gary had mentioned like classic Giallo movies.
Yeah. Christmas or something.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that would just kind of fit in with what you guys are doing,
But it sounds like you guys are on the path to like kind of figuring out it sounds like you've got a couple of those core titles, and like I think like once you find the thing, like, and commit and lean into it, like you're gonna find that stable to like put all the,
and that's gonna open the path to some of these other, maybe a little, higher tier, properties and things or licenses that I think that would see what you're doing, and just because talking with you guys, because a lot it's not necessarily like, well, how much money are you going to pay us, or we want to know that our property is in good hands, and this company isn't just going to like, oh, we're going to update this for the 2020s and it's going to be this and that, and no, we're going to be true to what this thing is. And so I don't know, I just everything you're, when I first heard that I saw Arnold's post about that, I was like, oh, this is really cool, and then I'm like, oh, I hope they don't screw it up, but it doesn't sound like you guys are. Doesn't sound like you guys are going to screw it up.
Glad you guys did. Funny story. Mike and I'm not going to name the shop, but we went to this comic store, and I had a moment where I thought, man, I'd really like to impress the owner of this store, and I thought, I said, hey, do you have any Gold Key? And my brother was like, hey, by the way, he owns Gold Key. And the guy was like, oh, no, I own Gold Key. That's what the comic book store guy said. And he pulls out a box like this big. He said, these are all my Gold Keys like this. And I was like, no. I own Gold Key.
I love it.
I'd be more impressed if it was Dell.
I missed that. I'm sorry. I missed the last part of that.
I'd be more impressed if it was Dell.
He said that?
Yeah, like that's what the comic book store owner said. He'd be more impressed if it was Dell publishing.
Again, it's the same thing. It's just, I mean, Dell's a little, it precedes Gold Key, but still, it's like, if you like Dell, you have to like Gold Key. I mean, come on. But
we appreciate you guys receiving the news well.
Exciting.
The 80s Nazi movie is called Shockwaves.
Oh man.
I'm not familiar, but I might have to check that out.
That sounds hilarious and awesome.
I would like to do a screening of various films in the barn.
Yes, for sure. You guys need to come to the barn. You need to visit the barn.
Scott,
if you're
you
local.
live in Arizona?
Yeah. I'm the only one here, but yeah. I was telling Arnold that I want to get another drink and draw thing going. Again, I keep referring to our friend Gary, and like it's like we keep building him up. But you'll probably, he said he'd swing by the booth. He's local too, so when you guys are Fan Fest and everything, and so how have I never seen this thing?
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that poster is
Gorgeous.
amazing.
That is great. Wow. Okay. And it's pitching, and this was in the 80s. So this is post Star Wars,
77.
77. So same
I
year
just
as Star
love
Wars.
the yacht.
Like,
I feel like the yacht puts it in the 80s, and then just it's a great poster.
I love that he's cradling the yacht.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's not
it's
going
like
to
a
hurt
toy.
it. He's
It's like a
being
toy,
very
but like a-
careful, like
Oh man,
caressing it.
I'm blown away. I don't think I've never. How have I never seen that? That's crazy. Who pulled that up?
I pulled that up.
Was that the tagline? The deep horror, or did?
Once they were almost human.
Oh wow. Yeah, I am. Okay, now I just thought of maybe we host a draw at the barn.
sure.
Oh, that'd be rad.
Does it have AC? Because it's starting to get hotter.
No, it does not have AC. That
Your
is-
comics are going to be in jeopardy then if you don't have AC in that barn.
I have a small little casita that we run to when it gets too hot.
Okay.
Pretty much
No,
from
that would be
late
kind of cool.
until early September. The barn just sits.
Yeah.
So you don't have the problem of the bonfires being put out by snow. That's not,
No, I'm saying
We
earlier,
have-
I had a bonfire put out by the local fire department, but that's good.
Yeah, we're not. They have like no burn days and stuff out here because of the pollution. So it seems like every day is a no burn day. Any day that it's cold, when you would want to have a fire.
It's cold.
Oh man. Well, I don't know. We're getting close to the hour and a half. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you guys want to mention about Gold Key? I mean, this has been a blast. I mean, I've learned so much about what you guys are doing, and I know you're just starting out. So, I mean, I'm super excited to see where you go, and everything you've said so far is just really, really pumped me up for what you guys are going to be putting out there, because it just seems like you guys have the right attitude, and that Gold Key Comics is in good hands.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it goes without saying, like, we've got some, if you guys go to our website or our Instagram or our Twitter and follow us, we do have some merch coming out, and one way of supporting just the whole launch of this is to
Is it goldkeycomics.com or what's?
Yeah, goldkeycomics.com. Instagram is at goldkeycomics. Twitter.
Okay, I'm definitely gonna check that. I should have put that in there. I put all your guys' Instagrams are in the description of this video. I just didn't put the website because I didn't know you had it up. But I will definitely put that in post after the fact.
The other thing is to send us your submissions. Tell your friends. The guy who said Gary that has have them send it over. We would love to hear it. We just want to put out good stuff. So if you know people, if you have stuff, Josh, send us what you got. We would love to take a look.
You know what's funny? Like a year ago, I would have been all over that. I'm buried by 2 graphic novels right now, but once I clear up, it's a genre, like there are so many genres that would fit Gold Key that I would love to work in. That if you guys are watching and you're cartoonists and you aren't submitting to them, you should, because it's a fun realm to work in. I'm excited about it and a little envious of people who can't sub to it.
I've got a thing I'll run. I might run by you.
Yes.
Are you going to be illustrating something like a comic? I thought you kind of swore off comics.
No, I didn't. I never swore off comics. I just was taking a break for animation, but I'm gonna not animate for a little while. I think I've burned myself out on animation, so I'm gonna get back in there.
So Stick and Twisted Festival animation was my favorite event of the year.
Plimpton.
We have a friend that's
very good friend. Yeah,
very good friends with the only person that Bill Plimpton has actually collaborated with. Are you familiar with Jim Lujan? Are you familiar with Revengeance?
No.
Okay. So Bill Plimpton basically worked with our friend Jim Lujan on
Lujan
a
was
feature.
in Spike and Mike's too. He was in that. Festival.
Yeah.
Right.
But so we're definitely big Bill Plimpton fans. Yeah, I wonder how that would adapt to a comic if it would.
I know that would be fucking amazing.
You're gonna
All
have to
right,
bleep Mike out.
we'll have to have Luhan send you some Luhan verse stuff too.
His stuff is so crazy.
That would fit that realm.
Yeah, go to
very
it's
well.
just Jim Luhan on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
He's got this very, I don't know if it would fit Gold Key or not, but you got to watch it just because it's his
great.
own universe. Yeah. It is so, I mean, you really can't compare it to anything else. I don't know.
You compare it to the kind of weirder parts of LA. That's
perfect.
It's just you know like every 10th person in LA where you're like, oh, that's kind of odd. That's every character in his cartoons. Yeah.
All right, so let's we'll start wrapping it up. We'll go around. Once again, it's been great having you guys on. Go to goldkeycomics.com. Check out all these guys' Instagrams. Follow them on Instagram so you can see what's coming out. And they want you to submit some stuff, especially, if you're not familiar with Gold Key, just take a quick Google search and kind of see the kind of stuff Gold Key has done in the past, because it sounds like they're kind of moving in that direction. So if your work's kind of like that, or if you think it'd be a good fit, definitely send it to these guys. And I wish, if I think we're all, maybe not Corey, but I know Josh and I are kind of the same thing where our we're so deep in our stuff right now. But yeah, I mean, I could probably come up with tons of ideas that would work for a Gold Key style comic. So I just want to give you guys the floor one more time before we start closing it out. Anything else? Last words you want to say? Anything?
Thank you. Basically.
Thank you. And I'm so looking forward to meeting you guys in person at FanFest, or maybe if I do a drink and draw before that or whatever. So it's been. I'll reach out to Arnold and everything. So I guess we'll go to Josh then. Josh, anything you got to promote on the way out?
Yeah, just make sure you guys buy 2 stories. I won't mention the publisher because we want to highlight Gold Key, but buy 2 stories by me on Amazon. That's currently available. And then this is coming out, Jacob's Apartment, an indie doomed romance story in the vein of like Ghost World or Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind, where dreams and reality overlap, and that's coming out in June. So go ahead and make sure you pre-order that and go to your local bookstore and ask them to carry it, because even the guys from Gold Key could probably tell you it's indie comics rely so heavily on like one person going to a bookstore or your local comic shop and just saying, hey, carry this. That goes a million miles of effort. So go get out there and do that. And that's it for me.
Yeah. All right. Corey, what about you?
You can find my stuff at CoreyKerr.com. Find my more recent stuff at CoreyKerr.com/online. A couple cartoons up there that you can look at. But I just posted a thing on Instagram that goes through how to make sure that you never miss a post. So if you don't want to miss something from me, add me to your favorites. You can watch that most recent thing. And there's a way that you can get around the algorithmically driven timeline and get a chronological timeline or a timeline of just the people that you favorited that just came out within the last 2 weeks. Also, this morning I was on with Scott on design cuts, and we animated some stuff that from one of Scott's design cuts packs. And so if you want to see that, that is live. And this afternoon I was on with Marsh. He came on to do a comics thing about the algorithm. I guess
that was great. I'm going to rewatch it because I was kind of busy while I was doing it, so I didn't catch everything. But that was what I did catch was like a great conversation. If you want to be scared about how technology is going to destroy us all, definitely watch that one.
or hopeful about where
we
can solve that. I don't know. Either way, I'd like to not be the harbinger of tech doom, but anyway, yeah. So this is like, I don't know, my 6th hour of live streaming today, so I'm very tired of cameras. But yeah, go watch any of those things or go to Instagram or whatever. Yeah.
Okay. And one more time, I got it's not clickable, but yeah, Gold Key Comics. That's right?
Yep.
Yeah, there's a few you have meant to find ours because there's a few that are websites that come up, but ours is there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to check. I'm going to check it out after this show. So I want to see what you got up there. Yeah, definitely follow Gold Key on Instagram. All these guys, links in the description. Again, and if you are local to Arizona, and hopefully they'll be doing other shows too. But go to Phoenix Fan Fest and meet these guys in person if you're ready. Oh, nice. Leave it up to Corey to bring. I assume that's Corey that's doing that.
Yep.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, and then as far as me, you can find me at circworks.com. Also here on this YouTube channel where I've got my series Making Comics 101, everything you want to know about how to make comics from start to finish, as well as a bunch of other content, newer content where I basically just talk about comics and making a living doing comics and how you can do that too. So if you want any of that information, go to right here. So this show, the Artcasters, we do this show every single week, usually without fail, unless something catastrophic happens or a holiday or something like that. But we do it on each other's channels, so it can get a little confusing. Right now, this week it's on my channel. Next week it'll be on Josh, then Corey, then back around. So it can get a little confusing. But if you don't want to be confused, there is a link to our mailing list. You can join that mailing list and you will know when we're going to go live, who our guest is going to be, what time, all that kind of stuff. Because it's usually on a Thursday. It might not be on a Thursday. And if you don't want to be confused, if you want to be notified, because YouTube's not really that good at notifying people. So just follow that newsletter. We don't spam you or anything like that. We just notify you about 30 minutes before we go live. So you can be here and talk with us in the chat. And speaking of, I just want to thank everyone in the chat. Thanks for showing up, and go out and there's probably not any titles out right now, but just be on the lookout for Gold Key, and when they do their rollout, be ready to support them, because it sounds like it's going to be some great stuff. So we will see everyone next week, I believe, on Josh's channel. See you then.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.